DISD Subcontractor Backup Form that should be included in all cost-related proposals, CSP, CMR, JOC, and so on. It will replace any forms that were previously required by Dallas ISD. And this is a standard form for all Dallas ISD projects, irrespective of who the project management firm is. And the purpose of this form is to ensure an additional layer of accountability coming from the general contractor. It was noticed that in the past, some general contractors were not doing their due diligence in checking some subcontractors' forms. Some of those general contractors were simply throwing their cover letter on top and sending it to the PMF. And then later on, during the PMF review, it would be discovered that some items were missing, some items were not in compliance, and sometimes both. With this form, the general contractor will have the opportunity to sit down and review the subcontractor's proposal before sending it to Dallas ISD. Things like, is it in compliance with the drawings? Are the labors and material rates aligned with the local construction market, or are they exaggerated? Is the subcontractor showing their correct markup, which is 10% for subcontractors and 4% for the second tier of subcontractors? Is the labor burden reasonable? Do the subcontractors have formula errors in their proposal? So again, this is just an additional layer of accountability where the general contractor now has the opportunity to fill this out, double checking the subcontractors' proposals, making sure they're in compliance and free of errors. And the requirement is one form for each subcontractor. Therefore, if a proposal has 3 subcontractors working on a specific task, 3 of these forms are needed. They need to be neatly organized with its associated backup. This is common sense. So let's get started. So right here at the top, obviously, GC, please include the name of your subcontractor. For example, let's say the subcontractor is Whitecap, and the project is ORG 000 Fantasy Project. Now, write a detailed description of what the scope of work is and the purpose of the change order. So let's say owner has requested HVAC filters to be upgraded from MERV 8 to MERV 13. So this was an owner request. Sometimes the description will be much, much longer than that. So then we move on to the body of the spreadsheet, and it consists of the info, description of the items, the units, and then labor, material, equipment, and everything else is automatically calculated. There are forms here everywhere. So let's say there are 2 subcontractors here involved with this work. I'm just going to make some of these items up. So let's say here on the info description, there's, well, the owner wants filters to be replaced from MERV 8 to MERV 13, right? So let's assume MERV 8 is what was on the design originally. Therefore, the general contractor needs to give the owner credit back for those MERV 8 items, and then bill the owner for the MERV 13 items. So here's a description of MERV 8, description of MERV 13. Filter in original bid. And MERV 13 is filter requested by owner. So we'll say originally there were 3 MERV 8 filters, and you're crediting the owner back, so that's -3. Now 3 new MERV 13 filters. Those are +3 items. Actually, this is incorrect. It should be the unit, right? And the unit is each. Okay. Quantity 3 -3 and 3. All right, so these are just material, so we'll skip the labor column and we'll jump to the material column. So we'll say each of the MERV 8 items costed $320, and it auto calculates 320 at -3. That's credited $960. Now the MERV 13 filters cost $122. Okay, so you're done with the material portion of it. Now, how about let's go ahead and do the labor now. Let's say there's an additional effort to install those MERV 13 items. Let's say, I'm just making this up. For some reason, they are more difficult to be installed. So you need 1 hour of labor, right? So all labor. And the unit here is hour, 1 hour. And the hourly rate here is, let's say, 0.5 hours. $35 an hour. Say the subcontractor is charging for project management. The unit rate is also hour, and half an hour to coordinate all that, and he bills at $52 an hour. So now you've done the labor part of it. How about equipment? Let's do equipment. Let's say you need to rent a lift. Go up on roof. That's our description. And your unit for the material is each. It's 1 lift. Actually, let's call the unit daily. 1 day to rent the lift. And the unit cost here is $1,200 to rent that lift. Okay. So we inserted the labor, we inserted the material, we inserted the equipment. Now, you go down to the bottom, you see labor burden, and you see overhead and profit. Sometimes the subcontractors on the labor part of it, sometimes they will include the burden in their hourly rate already. But sometimes they'll show a different section of their proposal with a percentage associated to the burden. If they show that percentage associated to the burden, meaning it is not included here in the hourly rate, then you will manually insert that burden here at the bottom. So let's say, for example, this particular subcontractor, Whitecap, did not have their burden included in their hourly rate. They were showing it separate, and they were showing that burden at 40%. So you will have to manually insert it so it's equal. And down here on H33, you see that the labor was $61. So you'll do equal 61 times 40%. Right? So here's your burden. Now we know that the subcontractor might want to bill the additional 10% that he's allowed for profit. You will also calculate it manually. So the profit obviously is everything here included on column M33. Or you insert it manually in 1567 times 10% Something is wrong here. Okay, that was not a 10%. There we go. Again, the 10% overhead and profit is everything here that is included. It's a subtotal of column M, line 33, times 10%, and you do it manually. So two things to remember here: the burden is done manually, and the overhead and profit is done manually as well. Now, this right here should equal your subcontractor's proposal. Now, I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this because we're going to use a real life example. Okay. So I'm going to drag this to the side so that we can use a real life example. So the project here is, well, the vendor here is Stephens Mechanical. The project here is ORG, Charles Gill, and the description XXX. So let's look at this proposal. He has duct material. Okay. Duct material. So I immediately know that this is wrong because he's just telling me that duct material is $800. I don't see a backup for this $800 proposal. Ideally, the general contractor will stop. It will come back to the subcontractor and say, I want to see a breakdown of all your duct material item by item. So look, there are a lot of items here. There's plenty of space to include an itemized proposal. But let's assume we think it's correct, and we'll call the unit here each. And let's say, just for the sake of it, let's say one piece of ductwork is $800, just to match what he has on this proposal. So $800. And he's saying additional materials at $500. Also wrong. We need an itemized proposal showing what all those additional materials are and how do they add up to $500. That is also wrong. But let's say it's acceptable just for the purpose of this training. I'm going to call the description additional materials. And I'm also going to call it each because, and one unit, because we don't know what that is. So additional materials each at $500. Just know that this in real life would be rejected, will be rejected. Now, labor, he does not say who's getting paid at $45 an hour in each show. You know, is that a superintendent? Is that a project manager? What is that? So I'm going to say it's a foreman. And the description here is to install ductwork. We need to know what all those individuals are doing. Is there a foreman? What is he doing? Are there two foremen? What are both of them doing? So if there are two foremen, it will include here one foreman and the other foreman on the other line item. And the unit rate here is hourly. And okay, he just shows 45 hours, $45 an hour. He doesn't show how many hours. So as a general contract, I'll have to manually calculate that, right? Manually calculate. So it's 2,900 divided by 45. It tells me it's 64 hours. Quantity. Let me put 64 here. And the hourly rate is 45. Okay. So I'm off by $2. So let me do that again. 64.44. And you keep doing that until you round to the exact same number that your subcontractor has on his or her proposal. Everything is met. Okay, and okay, all right. So he doesn't show burden here anywhere, so I'm assuming the burden is already included on the $45 per hour. So now we want to go to the markup, and he has $420 of markup. So that's done manually. So if I do 4,200 times 10% should equal $420. And this would be good to go. So you will save this as a PDF document. You will attach it to the subcontractor's proposal, and that is part of your proposal. Now, this particular proposal right over here, this is a package from a general contractor, and he has another subcontractor. So I would create a brand new spreadsheet for this particular subcontractor, in this case, ACS, Assured Comfort Systems. And that's it.